I was visiting a friend a while back in another country and stayed at his apartment during that time. His apartment was essentially an open kitchen living room going into a small open hallway. This hallway had 3 doors, one at the back and 2 on the right side. The door on the back leads to the bathroom, and the back right to his bedroom. Being a guest, and I'm not a person that snoops around in other people's stuff, I never got a look behind the 3rd door. I just assumed it was like a small storage or broom closet. I stayed with him for 2 weeks and walked past that door many times. Always slightly curious, but never dared to open it. The only difference between this door and the others was that it had no hinges on the outside and would therefore open inwards, which was kind of weird, considering the theoretical space behind it. It had a handle, keyhole, and even the same paint like the other 2 doors. On the last day, we went to a burger restaurant and my curiosity got the better of me. I ended up asking him what that room was for, and he was super confused, claiming his apartment only had 2 doors in that hallway and not 3. He had been living there for 3 years and would have definitely noticed if there was a 3rd door. I was just as confused because I had seen that door and passed it, even stopped and looked at it for the past 2 weeks. When we returned from the restaurant so I could get my stuff to head to the airport, he made a joke about it again while entering the apartment. Looking at the place on the wall, I had seen the door for the whole time I was there. I was greeted by a blank section of wall. The door was gone. I'm 40 years old, and this happened when I was about 29. A little backstory: I walked everywhere I needed to go. I lived in a small town, which made that easy to do. I walked the same way to the same places every day. One day, I was heading to work, and I stepped out from between 2 cars to cross the street. I was immediately struck and killed by a white Escalade. I felt the air pocket, and then the sudden acceleration of my body. The person didn't even have time to hit their brakes. The next second, I was standing on the sidewalk, unscathed and whole. I nearly fell to the ground in shock. I saw and felt my death, and got a 5-second reset. I had a recent glitch that has been freaking me out for weeks. My husband and I live in a house with just the 2 of us and a number of pets. The way our floor plan is laid out, you have to go through the kitchen to get to the living room. There's no way out of the living room without passing back through the kitchen either. I was in the kitchen wiping off the counter and tidying things up a bit and getting ready to cook dinner. I looked up and saw my husband walking through the kitchen and going into the living room. My dog, who was watching me clean the kitchen, stood up and followed him in the living room. I started talking to him, telling him some work gossip. When he didn't respond, I set down the paper towel I was using to clean and walked into the living room to see if he heard me. Sometimes he wears noise-canceling headphones around the house, so I assumed that's why he wasn't responding. But when I walked into the living room, he wasn't there. My dog was laying on the couch, but no one else was in the room. I called out my husband's name and he responded from the den, which is on the opposite corner of the main floor, so he would have had to walk right past me to get there. I went into the den and asked if he had just been in the living room. He looked at me like I was crazy and said he'd been in the den for the last hour. I'll preface this, as many here have, by clarifying that I am by no means a spiritual person. And having said that, I have no way to describe what happened to us. Back in 2019, my girlfriend experienced a memory of a situation that had not happened yet. We were both in my bedroom, in my house, and she was on the sofa trying to recall a funny remark I had made to her. She says that she was reading something funny to me a few days prior, to which I replied with a funny remark. and she was telling me this because she couldn't quite make out what I had said. I was confused because I had no recollection of that conversation. Well, she tried to remind me that I was by the bathroom door while she was laying in bed. We dwelled on it for quite some time while she tried to remind me that I was by the bathroom door while she was laying down on the bed, but I had nothing. She eventually shrugged it off and forgot about it. Fast forward to a couple of days after. I had just showered, and I was drying myself off by the bathroom door frame, which is inside my bedroom. She is laying on my bed, reading something funny on her cell phone, right in front of me. She starts reading it back to me with an excited look. As she is reading it, her excitement seems to slowly fade away. I take my cue, and I start to make a funny remark about that story, but I stop halfway. I asked her, "What's wrong?" She is pale, wide-eyed looking at her phone screen, when it suddenly clicked. She looks back to me, jumps out of bed, and finishes the sentence I had just started. She knew exactly what I was going to say. It was exactly the memory she had 2 days prior. We spent a few good hours after the incident freaking out, trying to wrap our heads around what had just happened. No possible explanation, no déjà vu. She literally described that event days before it happened. I remember her mentioning specific sections of that story the day before. It wasn't a coincidence, a text that she read again by mistake, nor could it be me unconsciously playing a prank on her. It was really a memory of the future. I am sitting in bed, settling in for the night. The window in my room is open so that I get some fresh air. I do not live close to the city or to a busy road, so I am listening to the frogs croaking outside. I was beginning to zone out. I realized that I had also been hearing birds chirping excessively and atypically for this time of night. I sleep with my window open most nights in the warmer months and have never heard the birds chirping like this at 10 p.m. I made a mental note of it. The birds are so loud right now. Weird. Just then, all of the chirping stopped all at once. All I heard was the frogs croaking. No birds. I definitely didn't hear the distinct sound of a bunch of birds rushedly flying away either. Just silence from the birds, on set at the exact same time I noticed how loud they were being. Building a fence in a customer's backyard, went to the truck for a tool, came back and there was a kid wearing a white and blue striped shirt, and he asked me, "What are you doing?" I explained that I was building a fence and digging holes to put the posts as I walked by him. When I got back to the fence, I turned around for acknowledgement of what I had explained. Nobody was there. The lady came out of the house at that moment as I was glancing around, and I said, "Where did he go?" "Who?" she asked. "That boy. There's no kid at that house." I saw his white and blue striped shirt clearly, and it was a popping blue. This is a topic that has questioned my sanity and haunted me for years and years. I've been seeing the same man since I was in my late teens. I'm 38 years old now. I started seeing him in random places around the age of 17. I live in a heavily populated area and have lived all over the tri-state area. I've seen him in parking lots. I've seen him in stores. I've seen him at events. But the craziest one was when I saw him at a destination wedding in St. Martin about 10 years ago. I approached him at the wedding and asked him if he had been following me for years because I see him all over the place. As you can imagine, the conversation immediately became one of the awkwardest ones I've ever been a part of. He kind of laughed and shrugged it off, but I could tell he was seeing me all over the place also. There's been spans of over a year to 2 years where I don't see him whatsoever, and it seems like it comes in waves. My life has changed considerably, as you can imagine, since the age of 17. I now have a wife and a child. My most recent sightings of the guy was in a store called Bye Bye Baby. I was buying things for my newborn. Within the same month, I saw him in a Home Depot about 30 miles away. Every time this happens, he pretends like he doesn't see me, but I can tell he's as sketched out as I am. The last sighting of this guy was a couple months ago in a store for baby stuff. And that was the final straw. I'm telling you, if I see this guy again, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I don't even care what it takes. It's something I pondered over for so long, and like I said, I question my own sanity. I'm also a male, for frame of reference, and the guy that I've been seeing is a lot older than me, but it seems like he hasn't aged a bit, as crazy as that sounds. Like I said, I know the man is real, I've talked to him face to face, but that still doesn't make me question my own sanity any less.